Hey everybody, so we stopped our last episode with the characters getting a bit of a proposition by Sun, the Malkavian Primogen, and they have now left Exit and then started to make their way towards their dead drop from their Tremere contact. Things get a little crazy after that information, so let's see what happens.
We'll go in a roundabout way. We won't go directly there just to make sure, Sun's not fucking following us to creep.
What time is it?
So time-wise, it's probably around 11 o'clock, 11:30.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's all right. That's fine.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, you guys head out to the car, head on over. You start driving down south. Now, the dead drop on Lower Whacker is where it kind of brushes up against the Riverwalk. Where they've been doing construction down there, the drop itself is literally like a false part of the pillar. So you have the support beam for Upper Whacker, and it's cemented around, and there's a small part between like that, the construction fence with like the chain link and then like the tarp to block off the view from the Riverwalk side, and between that and the pillar there's an area where you can just kind of push part of that pillar aside, and that's where the drop is. Usually for something about the size of like an envelope, like a manila envelope, is big enough for go in there.
Okay.
So you guys drive down, get the Lower Whacker, and you start pulling up on the drop point. Now, when you get down there, there's actually a part where you can kind of pull aside for where the construction vehicles have been going in and out. So you have a place you can park the vehicle, and who's going to get the drop?
I'll go get it.
All right. Hop out of the car. There's a bit of traffic down here at this point in time, but nothing too bad.
Okay. Yeah,
He was in sight.
I'll light a cigarette, and I'll just puff on it kind of absently. I'll act bundled up and cold, stuff my hands in my pockets and pull my hood up a little bit and just walk in that direction there.
Okay.
And just, try not to make it too obvious, but see if there's anybody around. Watch out for anybody that might be watching me.
So as you kind of look out with your back to the chain link fence and kind of just take a casual scan around as you're kind of like huddled and trying to act a little cold, like you're warming your hands up, you see a couple of homeless people further down Lower Whacker, not really within any realm of where they could identify somebody this far away. You can see the figures, you just can't see features. They don't seem to be looking your directions, like they're huddled around like a burning, drum essentially to stay warm.
Yeah. Okay. I'll enable my heightened senses just to make sure that there's nobody kind of like watching or hiding around. But yeah, if they're far enough away that it doesn't really seem like I can make out distinct features, they're probably not close enough to make out my distinct features.
Well, when you focus to activate your heightened senses, you can make out their features. And it's literally just like older individuals huddled around this like burning like trash drum. You see like the stubble on their cheeks. There's obviously some grime. The clothes are all kind of ratty. They really look the part of the homeless people in Lower Whacker. So from what you're seeing, they look completely normal. But what you do definitely know is that nobody's looking in your direction. That's the big kicker.
Okay. Then I'll kind of act like, I'm kind of like a, homeless guy out on the street too, probably more the drug addict type. And I'll just lean against the pillar and, puff the cigarette and just kind of like absently go for the dead drop.
Yep. So basically you feel on the side of the pillar and give it a small push in, and it's like a latch that clicks and slowly opens. Like it's like one of those vertical folders that just kind of slops open like this. Mm-hmm. You reach in, there's a small manila envelope. It's been wrapped up a little bit, so it's more compact. Grab that, push the block back into place. You hear it click, and it's smooth with the rest of the concrete.
Okay. And I'll just put my hands back in my pockets and throw the cigarette and just kind of slowly, stumble back in the direction of the car.
Okay. You make it back to the car without any incident. Sullivan and Preston watching from inside the vehicle. You see him kind of put on the show, finishes a cigarette up, throws it, flicks it to the side as the cars are passing by, and he makes it in the vehicle, closes the door, and gets in.
We'll take off.
Whatever the dead drop is, I'll toss it in the front seat.
Okay. So he tosses this manila envelope that's probably about I don't know, about the size of 2 normal letter envelopes, like stacked together. It's not very thick, but it's wide, and it's kind of been folded upon itself to make it smaller. When he tosses it up there, it's light, so it's either papers or pictures or something just thin inside the envelope.
Since Jeff's driving, I'll take it and pop it open and take a look at. What
So
we got.
you peel back the tape that's been used to kind of seal it up. It's like a clear
this
packing
point-
tape. Go ahead.
At this point, I'll be just driving aimlessly while we're looking. I'm not actually going anywhere right now, but
Okay.
we are going to move.
All right. So where you're at on Whacker, you had to pull in. You can go towards the lake and along it, like towards essentially LSD.
Like out Logwig Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
Okay.
Because that can take us anywhere we want to go as soon as we figure out what we want to do.
So as you're doing that, as you're driving along, Preston starts opening up the package, and you unwrap this like clear packing tape and open up the envelope, and you have a bunch of pictures with names on the back. One of which is Edith, who is a Nosferatu who runs the Painted Lady. This is a picture of her in her true form, like not her mask. So she's got the like a little bit of an elongated face, these massive, her ears turn into these massive like bat ears. Her nose is kind of like more like a bat's nose, so like the tip is gone and it's just that bit of like ringed flesh around the lip of the nostrils or where her sinuses are. On the back of the picture has her name, and it says Cultivar. Another picture you have is of this mortal, looks like by the flush of his skin tone. He's got a very scraggly but like filled in beard, like it's not very well trimmed. It's just kind of wild in places. He's got longer, like wilder hair, a little bit curly. It's more unkempt, like his style is that way, as opposed to like I just woke up and didn't touch anything. On the back of it, it says Ashram Blackwater, Cultivar. The next picture and the last one is of a woman who is wearing like these thin framed glasses. She's got long black hair, it's straight. She's wearing very professional clothing. Looks like almost like a suit jacket and like a nice collared shirt. And it says Mavis Blackwater, Cultivar. Now at the bottom of hers, you see the word cult scribbled in red, question mark, and it says Our Lady of Suffering.
What was the name of the second guy?
Ashram.
Okay. And all of these were labeled as cultivar.
Yes.
Are these people that, like, just based on the name? I mean, anybody that we're familiar with, anybody that would know, like, do the names ring a bell? Like, aside from like the ones obviously Nosferatu because of the fucking bad features and shit, but like, do we know anything else?
So for the two that appear to be more human, I'll have you roll. Let's do an occult and your intelligence. Okay, so you guys need 2 successes. Who got the 2? I see Lamont got 2.
I got 2.
Okay. As the 2 of you pass the photos between one another, it's not the names of the people that really jog anything. It's the name of that cult. And this is mostly for Preston, but Lamont does kind of remember hearing about this. It's like a self-help group for survivors of trauma and tragedy that have been kind of gathered together. And it's the name Our Lady of Suffering is not like the official name. It's just been a moniker given to it by other like religious groups in the area, because all those people do is talk about the things that have gone wrong in their lives, the pain and the trauma they've suffered. And some of the other groups view it as more like wallowing,
Right.
while the group itself is set upon like, we're going to help you acknowledge your pain and move through it and grow stronger because of it. For Preston, that hits a couple of flags. The Bahari in you is like, whoa. Back that up. You know, like, what's it all involved in? Especially with the name Our Lady of Suffering. So it's not Bahari, you know that, but it's definitely something related to that idea of growing stronger through suffering and through pain. Not quite all the way Bahari, definitely a lot in reminiscent of it though. And from what you know, the Cultivar, they kind of follow those similar veins. So that would kind of make sense with them being labeled Cultivar.
Okay. Now I do have an occult specialization in cults.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me how specializations work on rolls.
When you have a specialty, you gain 1 extra dice for your pool. So that would be your modifier you can throw on there. But since we didn't do that, and this does apply, because I didn't let you know, we'll just give you like you had another success. Okay. So And having that knowledge of cults, for Preston, this is a mortal only cult. Like, this is not something that's infiltrated Kindred society. This is purely mortal run. It's purely for mortals and victims of trauma. You've kind of heard whispers a little in addition to what I've already told you. You've heard whispers that there's more involved with this, like there may be some sense of ritualistic telling of these tales and things along those lines. It doesn't quite get to the level of a cult quite yet, at least nothing that's kind of gotten out there and talked about, but it might.
So it's basically, as far as my understanding is right now, this is a group of mortals who are brought together because they are all victims of some type of trauma in their life or loss or something like that. And through some, I guess, air quotes, ritual, they are, maybe it's a chant that they're sitting in a circle saying, or some other type of thing that kind of...
Or the typical call response.
Sure, okay.
It's definitely on that radar of potentially a cult. And it does ping some red flags for Preston with his experience with the Bahari. That this idea of indulging that pain and growing stronger and like just pain to learn from.
Yeah, it's a nudge away from being something more serious. Yeah.
And it does kind of link a little bit to what you know, the cultivar. The cultivar and the Bahari seem to kind of be on a similar aspect in terms of using pain as a tool of teaching and suffering as a learning, step. Now for Sullivan,
I'm jotting all this down because I will forget it.
No problem. Well, while you're doing that, I will move right on to Sullivan here. As you're driving, you start taking your guys' car out to like Lake Street, and you're along that main thoroughfare for Lakeshore Drive, Lake Street, Jesus Christ, Lakeshore Drive. And as you're driving by the yacht club, you hear this like subtle like edge of your consciousness voice in the back of your mind. It's like a brush with something that's not quite physically here, but is making its presence known in the back of your head. Now, Preston gets a little bit of this too, because you're also a clergy of the void, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So as you pass the Chicago Yacht Club, literally you hear these formless whispers, like this indecipherable words that are just kind of flowing out of God knows where, but it's more like speaking to your mind as opposed to something you can physically hear. Like Lamont, as you guys are driving, he's looking at the pictures, doesn't seem like he's hearing anything. But when you guys hear this, all the hair on the back of your neck starts to stand up. Like that chill just brushes across the back of your neck.
I don't just kind of look over. I'd just be drawn to that, like, oh.
And as you guys drive by.
That was weird.
Yep.
We went by the yacht club and something's not quite right about that place.
Anybody know anything about the yacht club?
Looking at the pictures,
He's like,
I don't think so.
Nothing that's been flagged.
That's not something I've delved into just yet, but I'm going to look into it. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, so these cultivar. So right now it's like a mortal only deal.
So, out of curiosity here, Sullivan's driving, Preston's in the front seat, and Lamont's in the back, right?
Yeah.
As Preston talks, Lamont, you kind of look up from the pictures and look at him through the rearview mirror, and his eyes are bleeding black. And so are Sullivan's.
Oh, so these cultivar, it's just a mortal thing right now. So obviously my first inclination would normally be to just like go in there and like infiltrate this and like get on the inside and see what's going on and see what I can find out. I don't know. You guys are thinking that might be too hot. I think it might be a smarter to try and find somebody who's immortal who's already in there.
As Preston looks over as he addresses both of them, when you go, so what do you guys think? At that point, Sullivan kind of makes eye contact, and you see that Preston has like black ichor tears on either side of either cheek, and same thing with Preston. You see that on Sullivan as well. You don't feel them like actually like there's no sensation of them having done, but you can definitely see they're actually there.
I don't see any of this. I don't know.
No, you do. As soon as you looked into the mirror.
Oh, I do. Okay.
Yeah, it's like when you look at the rearview mirror and see these two, you see they're bleeding from the eyes, like this black ichor.
Look, what? I'll look back at the road like, dude, check out your face. You're like crying black tears.
Both of you.
What? It's all looking in the rearview
Pull
mirror.
down the visor and the
Yeah,
visor mirror and look.
You see it. And when Sullivan listens to the mirror, he can see it on his own face as well.
I'll just kind of stop. I won't stop, but I'll just take a moment and be like, oh,
I'll reach
something back there
over
was
and
powerful.
I'll brush his face. I'll brush Preston's face.
When your fingers brush across his cheek, you pick it up. It's like it's got the consistency of slightly congealed blood, but it's like black, like a tar black, as opposed to like a bloody crimson.
I'll do the same. Like I'll wipe.
You're bleeding.
I'll wipe it off. Something back there was powerful. We really need to look into that yacht club. I don't remember coming across anything that's made me, just by driving by something, crying black blood.
Ray, I don't have a clue what that could be personally. Is it possible that my character might have heard of or experienced
We're all fairly
something?
occultish.
What's your level of occult with Lamont?
My level of occult is 3.
So yeah, that's a good expertise. And having been embraced by Namtarak, your sire, you kind of got teachings from him about the different afflictions and the blood-borne specialties that can occur in some of the children of the founders.
Sure.
And you do know that Preston and Sullivan have an unnatural link to doing the rituals at the Well of Sacrifice. You don't have that link. You're proficient at them, but you don't have that like calling that these two seem to have. Right. They have that spiritual connection to where their spirit can kind of set aside the worst of the atrocities they commit in the name of following through on their rituals that you don't quite have. That could be the case, that they have this special connection. Otherwise, it might be some bloodborne illness, but that doesn't make sense because you guys have all fed relatively the same areas.
I'll smell it and just see if it smells like blood.
It smells almost like a rotting oil. It's got that weird, like, tangy scent to it, but it also has, like, a cloying scent of rot. And as you're rubbing your fingers together, you feel this thing start to, like, it's almost acting like a paste, where it starts to kind of roll into a ball as you're kind of rubbing your fingers under your nose to smell it. And as that happens, it starts to move in your fingers. And these 2 little wings pop up, like flies' wings. And you see it kind of try to take flight off of your finger, and it's a little black blowfly, and just starts buzzing around the car.
Okay. I'll give it a little,
It'll fly, and you'll see it kind of go to the window like, flies are wont to do, and just just as it hits the window. As you let it out, both Preston and Sullivan feel those tears start to congeal onto their faces, and you start feeling that little insect prick of legs walking across your cheeks as they're forming into flies at this point. At least like a half a dozen between the 2 of you.
Is there any pain involved with any of this?
No, not at all.
It just feels weird because it's shit walking on your skin.
Yep.
I'm sorry. My skin is crawling right now, so I'm just gonna go ahead and itch my head.
Sorry, Nate.
It's okay.
So they'll start
that's
buzzing.
Weird. I don't.
They'll start
even
buzzing around
our
the car.
well. Even our well hasn't done that. Something is. We need to look into that. Like maybe now.
I'm going to pull out a pocket knife, and I'm going to take it to my cheek,
Okay.
and I'm going to cut down like in the path of where these tears were on the one side, just enough to cause some pain.
So you'll feel the blade bite into your undead flesh. And as you give it a little pressure and you start pulling down, now you know you're not going to bleed unless you want to. The vitae doesn't just leak out of your body when you get cut. So as your dead flesh parts over the course of the track where those tears were, you are realizing that you can feel the sensation, but it's a little delayed, and you're used to that as you have hurt yourself, at least in the course of accidents over your unlife in the decades you've been undead. But nothing weird happens. It's just a little bit delayed along the exact track. The pain is anyways. But it does come. It does come. Like, it feels the way you expect it. It's just a little second delayed from when you would expect it. And the flies are buzzing around. But
I'm going to close my... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, but when you cut yourself and you're like, okay, interesting. and you have your fingers up there by the with the blade in the hand still, and since the flies are still buzzing around, they immediately start swarming towards that cut.
I'm gonna be just focus on the pain, and what I might learn from the pain pleasure connection to this, because this is like a powerful thing that's happening, and so on the one end it's like this is a little bit creepy and freaky because it's never happened, but it's also like this is an unknown thing that I want to explore. And when I'm exploring things, I mean, the best way to like heighten the brain to the awareness to understand things to me is through a little bit of pain. So that's where that's coming in.
So as you're kind of focusing on that, the flies start landing on your cheek. Like I said, there's like a half a dozen of them, and they start walking across your skin towards the cut. You will feel them start to like go into the cut. First there's one, and he's actually pushing his way into your skin, like into the cut itself.
Can I control blood flow to the point where I'm just letting just a littlest bit out? I want to see it because I want to see if the blood will drown this bot fly, or if it will feed on it, or like how it will react to my blood.
Yeah, you definitely can. You can kind of will it a little bit to the surface there and let just a tad bit pool, like it's about to trickle. And as you kind of force that blood to the cut area, when it hits this thing, the fly dissolves back into this black ichor, and you feel it. And for Sullivan, like watching, like what the fuck, like as you're driving, and Preston, and Lamont seeing this in the rearview mirror, when that fly liquefies, it shoots black veins through the side of Preston's face. At that point for Preston, you feel the pain, like hooks are in your circulatory system, clutching onto your skull through the layer of flesh on your face.
You fucking like enthralled, like it'll be dry. Road? Face.
I need you
Road
to roll
face.
a drive test. Jeff,
I have drive.
difficulty 2, because what the fuck is that?
Yeah. Am I able to utilize a willpower?
You can re-roll up to 3 regular dice if you spend a willpower.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens with the roll first, I guess.
Okay. And you also have bonus dice, too. Don't forget that. You have 2.
I will use one because I suck.
Yeah, because you're going like, 45 miles an hour on Lakeshore Drive, and like, what the fuck just happened in the car? So a drive test difficulty 2 will be required.
Damn.
Would be bad.
So I will blow the willpower
To re-roll those. Well, you can roll 2. You can't re-roll the hunger dice.
Oh, gotcha. Right on.
Oh, you got one success. So as you're looking over, you're kind of like, what the fuck is going on? As this fly just dissolves into Preston's blood, and you see the veins shoot across the side of his face. You find yourself veering over, and you just barely sideswipe a car. You don't go careening into like the Jersey barriers on the side of the road, but you do end up bouncing and kind of sliding into like the shoulder as the car keeps on going by. And you slow down to a stop. Luckily, the crash isn't as bad, but your vehicle is a little bit fucked up. You will take a bashing, but it's not as bad as it could be. For Preston, that sudden jolt from hitting the car, as you're holding up here, when he jolts it, I need you to roll a survival test. Because otherwise your hand can be like slip and hit the side of your face, and you got a bunch of flies right there that can get jammed into that wound. Difficulty is only 1. Okay, so as the car gets hit and you guys are jostled, so for Lamont, as you've come back, Nate, he failed his drive check, but only by 1. So he kind of sideswiped the vehicle, but didn't like bounce anywhere. But he manages to make his way to the shoulder of Lakeshore and kind of stop as the cars are going by. As that happens, Preston gets jostled as well, and you just barely manage to stop yourself from 1, digging the knife further into your skin because you're holding it like right here, and 2, you don't smash all those flies into your face. But they're all starting to kind of move around, like gather, like it's a bunch of animals from a feeding trough. All these flies are going towards that blood. They're not buzzing. They're unnaturally still. They're just all slowly walking closer.
Okay. I'm going to make an executive decision here real quick. And I'm just going to brush them off of his face.
Okay.
I'm going
to roll the window down.
I don't know what the black lines mean, but I know that they're very difficult to hide.
So as you kind of shoo those out the window, as Sullivan opens the window from his side, Preston can feel that that heat, like that searing, like lash on, starting to crawl down the side of his face and along the neck. And as Lamont is leaning between the two front tires, shooing the fucking flies out of the window, you can see like his jugular and all the main like capillaries on his neck are all black, just like the Icar is.
I'm going
now,
to
when this
seal the
moves-
wound.
When this moves down his face, are the black lines that were on his face moving as well, or is it just leaving black shit everywhere it goes?
Right now, it's leaving black shit in all those veins, and it's staying there.
Fuck.
I'll close up the cut.
Okay. You basically will it closed. I'm not going to make you do the rouse check. It's a small scratch anyways that you made. So the flesh obeys your commands and seals itself shut without so much as a pucker, just smooth skin back on your cheek. What makes it weird for Preston is once you seal that up, as you feel this stuff moving through your veins, it's like things are crawling through your circulatory system. It's like crawling down your chest now.
Well, whatever it is, it's part of it's within me now. So we'll have to monitor that situation.
Well, we definitely need to look into that yacht club. I haven't felt anything like that before. Not even our well.
You want to go now?
Yeah, I think we should.
Lamont, you want to go now?
Or do what else?
That's a hell of a good point.
We're
We'll be
already
going
in the
back to the
car.
yacht club.
Circle
Are you
the
gonna
bitch.
leave
Let's go
your
back.
insurance information on the car you hit?
Oh yeah, we should leave a note.
They kept driving.
Oh, that car took off. It kept going.
Yes, let's go. Sure.
As you guys pull back on to Lakeshore Drive, you can see as you're occasionally looking over at Preston, it's slowly starting to fade from view on his face anyways, and along the side of his neck. So by the time you're up at the full
Good.
speed again and going for a spot you can turn around, probably up by the stadiums, you can no longer see it on his face. But for Preston, it's crawling deeper into your chest cavity, and you can feel a sudden sharp pain as these things reach your heart.
Ooh.
It can't be good.
Now imagine being thrown into a scalding hot bath, but it's just your heart. This burning sensation that kind of starts to erupt around the veins and the arteries, and it just bursts through your body. And a sudden hot like beat, as if you had summoned the blush of health and your heart is beating somewhat again and you're flush. It's like that, but it's searing hot pain. I will need you to roll your willpower.
Sure.
The difficulty in this is going to be a 2. It's not quite a frenzy. It's to see how well you can keep yourself composed. You're okay. You manage to grit your teeth through the worst of it, and it doesn't really cause you to lose anything that they can see. Like, it doesn't make you lose your shit to where they can see it's really affecting you. But once you get a couple of those pulses through, it slowly fades into nothingness, and you're back to feeling just that cold deadness of your body.
That was interesting.
So Sullivan turns around and starts making it back towards the yacht club. The club is a members only situation, but that doesn't mean you can't break in.
Well,
Is it open or is it closed?
It's closed.
what is the layout of this building? Like, what I'm looking for, I do have larceny 2. My character's not stupid. Jeff can't break into shit,
Right.
but my fucking character can. I'm looking for a place that's kind of out of the way, probably darker, and fuck, I'm trying to think, because a building like that's going to have an alarm too. I guess got to figure out a way to either bypass the alarm, or I wonder if we can get close enough to case the building to see if there's like on-staff surgery or on-staff security, something. I'm looking for a chink in this place's armor to get in.
Okay. So there are a couple places you can find something. So the yacht club itself does have a place where like members would go and park their vehicles, and literally it's a large, like a smaller 2-story building right on the edge of the water, and then it goes further out, and there's a bigger building out like among the docks. And then you have obviously the open areas for all the boats where they can be, tied off and can sit out there in the water. When you pull off into the yacht club, you do see cameras at first. You do manage to find a couple of spots where the cameras aren't quite catching a good line of sight, essentially, where you could possibly sneak in and like jump the fence. Now, most of the fence are those really narrow, thin, black, like iron fence that just
Or
runs
wrought
like a
iron.
good 10 feet up. Yeah, and it's like nowhere really where you can get a good foothold or a handhold. But all along the sides, you do find one spot. It looks like the fence has been kind of moved in or pulled up a little bit that you can probably get around to. Either a bunch of kids had come down here before, and this is how they sneak in at night, or somebody else is breaking in. But you do see probably about 4 or 5 cars in the parking lot. All are nice. We're talking a couple of Mercedes, maybe a Benz or two, things along that. So definitely higher end vehicles here. And some of the lights in the building that's a little bit offshore the dock are actually on right now.
Well, we're not going to park here. We'll park somewhere a little bit of ways away. So if we have to scramble, we're not just running to the parking lot to get caught.
Okay.
That, and it stays off. Our car at that point also stays off of any camera radar that's coming from this building anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
we'll block, go about a block or two away, maybe a parking garage or something, and then we'll make our way over.
All right. So you can park on, I'd say, Montrose. Yeah, you can definitely park on Montrose. And so you find a good spot a little bit off, like right by one of the overpass where the highway goes over, or excuse me, where Lakeshore goes over this area. You can park down there, and you can make your way over. And as you do so, as you guys are walking closer to this place, Sean, you feel this weird presence. Sullivan hears that whisper again, that intelligible, just rolling voices that are just brushing upon the back of your head. For Preston, you can actually start to make out words. What languages do you know?
Let's see.
Languages are merits again, right? In V5?
Oh, I didn't take anything additional. I didn't buy any.
Yeah,
I didn't buy up
either.
any languages.
Okay. So you can
I
definitely.
remember writing down languages though, like on.
Rosetta Stone, Sean, we'll get you.
So you can't identify the language, but you can definitely make out the fact that these are actual words now. It's no longer just like a weird droning mumbling to you. They're getting more distinct, which is a little concerning. But at the same point in time, it doesn't. Your emotions refuse to feel that way. It feels almost comforting to you.
I'll try and see, like, even though I can't like understand the language, I'll see if maybe I can make out like a word that maybe is I hear like or a sound I hear more than once, so that I can fucking Google it later on and see if I can at least get a fragment or a word.
Sure. You hear 2 words put together often in this like droning chant that are basically coming out to sounding like, in a bad pronunciation, maledicte sunt.
Maledicte sunt. Does that mean anything to anybody? Maledicte sunt.
Anybody speak Latin?
Anybody speak this?
I don't speak Latin, but due to my day job, is that anything that is my academics able to help me here?
Yes.
Is there something I can
You may roll your intelligence plus academics.
It turns out
beans? It turns out Nate speaks Latin.
the additional languages and education type stuff wasn't really my focus.
Oh, all right, fair.
Yeah, I do have academics, but I didn't. Stupid me didn't think to buy linguistics.
I got 3, sir.
Yes. Well, so it sounds maledicti, male essentially is like usually like a bad or in this case a negative intonation of words. Something along the lines of either forsaken, accursed, malediction, for example. It's definitely a Latin root.
Okay.
Since you work in archaeology, that is what I will definitely give you.
I'll just tell them we'll have to look into Latin. That sounds Latin, but it sounds bad. That's got a negative connotation to it,
Well, something's definitely wrong with me.
which just makes me want to push further and find out what's going on here. So
Yeah.
I'll continue moving.
So
I will definitely utilize my stealth. I don't think I can utilize my obfuscate with these 2 here, knowing
Well,
I'm here.
No. Well, if you hide behind pole and then go, sure. But
Yeah,
you're
not
not going
right
to be
now.
able. Yeah, you're not
Depends
going
on
to be
what
able to help
level of
them out.
obfuscate you have. Yeah, I don't have
I got
any.
level 2.
I don't have any larceny or any shit, but like I got some stealth too, so I could,
Yeah, I'm going
I do
closer to
have
this feeling.
I do have silence of death, so I will mention we can move quietly. that's the best I can do for you.
That's
And I'll enable
than
the
enough.
silence of the death, which just happens.
So as it goes deathly silent around all of you, you manage to slide in through the weakness in the fence that Sullivan had seen, and you manage to kind of pop out right adjacent to the parking lot. Now, the main building in front of you that's still on land, all the lights are off. Looks like nobody's here. As a matter of fact, at this point in time, the club should be entirely closed. You do see a couple of boats in the harbor, maybe like a handful or so, not too many. But really, this weather, nobody's going on their boat right now. So those are all locked up. And further down the dock, the main dock, that wraps kind of around this little like lagoon type area they made, you start making your way around and you can see that further building, the lights are on in it. And as you start walking that way, for Lamont, you start seeing things out there, like you're just barely in your peripheral vision, like things are moving. The shadows, something's in the darkness that's moving around you. But whenever you turn to look at it or just shift your attention, it stops and it's no longer there. For Solomon and Preston, that droning gets a little louder as you start getting closer to this building. As you guys are walking and Preston's with you looking around, when Preston looks back in your direction, Lamont and Solomon can see his eyes are just solid black. There's no glare at all. They're just all black.
Okay.
I'll just ask him, how are you feeling?
Instead of being able to hear what you're hearing, I can kind of feel it.
So
And I can.
you turn to ask him, actually, and you're in silence of death. So
Oh, yeah,
nothing
that's
gets said.
I'll pull out my phone. I'll turn the setting down to very dim. And I'll fucking text his
You
ass
guys
as
stop.
we're moving closer.
You text him,
Gotta turn it down to dim.
and
No light.
Preston, as you feel your phone vibrate, and that sensation passes through your body, and once it gets like to your torso, just the alertness of your vibration of your phone, you feel your stomach like start to rumble and almost crawl, like it's upset. And you haven't felt this way, well, either since you've had blood from somebody who's been very, very drunk or very, very high, or from when you were immortal back 40, 50 years ago. Like you feel like you would need to retch.
I will just text back. I might vomit.
I'm just standing there like, okay.
I'll try
what's going
and
on?
bring us closer to the water so he can just into the fucking water. Because it's hard to clean blood off of a sidewalk. If he pukes in the water, it'll be gone by the time light hits it.
You guys make your way closer, and you're getting around to where you can now start hearing a bit of like music and like a low droning, like it sounds like there's some sort of energetic ritual or dancing going on inside this building, because you hear like this thrumming, like tribal-esque beat, and the occasional voices rising out and calling out in like ecstatic bliss. And as this starts to roll over you guys, Preston doubles over by the water and starts to dry heave. You can't stop yourself, Preston. Like it's your body is being taken over by this need to expel whatever's in your stomach. And as he starts to spit up a bit of like flecks of blood, you guys see this black cloud of flies just start streaming out of his mouth. And as you start vomiting, you can feel them all crawling out of your esophagus and into the air, out your lips, and it just blasts into the air. This cloud of just flies starts buzzing in the area, and in the back of Preston's mind, he hears a whisper that says, "Atal Shen has blessed you."
We're not going back to that restaurant. Something's wrong. We had some bad food. I'll just be looking in amazement, like I haven't seen an infestation like that ever.
No, and
That's not on a dead body.
when that's gone, like after that first like one or two complete upchucks of these flies, they all disperse, and Preston, you feel fine. Like you actually feel relieved.
Get up. Wipe my mouth. I feel better now.
But you're like,
I'll kind of rub his back because what I feel like what I've witnessed is a great blessing. I've never thrown up flies. I'm sure he got. I'd like to know what sort of what sort of revelation has come to him. But yeah, I can't ask him because it's quiet. So
I'll pull up my phone. Actually, we shouldn't really be sending text messages about these things, should we? In this day and
well,
age?
you don't want to mention vampiric shit via electronic. At least not that's obvious.
I'll tell you later. I'll tell you later.
I'm gonna make my way closer to the building.
Okay.
There's some shit going on, and it's some shit.
So you make your way up to the building, and a lot of the shades have been drawn on the first level. Essentially, you go around back, like where there's this nice patio that overlooks, just overhangs a bit over the water. A couple tables scattered about here and there, and mind you, it's still fucking cold as hell outside. So as you walk up, you're walking through like this hardened snow. Like if it wasn't silenced, you guys would be crunching through the snow right now as you walked. And as you kind of go onto this deck and move quietly, you start to get to a point where you can see the deck doors are closed, but they've got like those strip like of cloth for like blinds, and you can kind of see between that. What it looks like is in the main, I guess, banquet hall or restaurant floor of the yacht club here, everything's been pushed back, so you can see the hardwood floor has been exposed, but they've painted this circle on the ground with like, it looks like almost a sand painting essentially, and it's around this small raised little dais in the middle of the floor that has a bunch of candles and a skull on it. And the entirety is lit by just dozens upon dozens upon dozens of massive candles. And it's giving enough light to the main floor that's reflecting off of the different surfaces inside the restaurant that's actually making it look like there's actual real lights on in there. It's really, really bright. You see a lot of people kind of dancing and chanting around this area. And what's bothering you is that as they do this, the shadows in the room are slowly encroaching upon that center skull.
Damn.
And I roll my occult knowledge to peg if this is more of a demonic thing or if this is like a children thing. This seems very demonic as opposed to
you can
what
go
you would do to keep the children asleep or wake them up.
Oh no, this is definitely not a ritual like that. You, without even having to roll, you know that this is not the type of ritual that they would demand to either be sated or to rouse them from their slumber.
Right.
This is different. These are like, you do have academics, you do have a cult. This is more of an ecstatic dance. You dance until exhaustion and then beyond it to throw yourself into some sort of heightened awareness and new precipice of understanding and alertness. Basically, these are dancers trying
like a Dionysus thing,
kind of,
revel,
but not. This is not exclusive to Dionysus. A lot of cultures have done this type of like it's ecstatic dancing, and that's literally what this is. What's getting you though is that the soles of their feet are leaving bloody footprints across the ground. They've been at this for a while.
Yeah.
Damn.
Given all of you guys' connection to blood sorcery and the just the pure nature of occult studies, what they're doing is not resonating with whatever is here. Like what you all are hearing has nothing to do with this. There's something here, and it seems like they know something's here, but they're trying to petition it in completely the wrong way. It's like they're on the wrong frequency to hit what's out there.
Okay.
And they're bleeding from their feet. They're dancing till exhaustion. They're not kindred. I'm going to look around to see if there's anybody not dancing, not breathing heavy while they're dancing. I'm looking to see if these people are being influenced or these are just misled humans.
Okay. That's a very legit call. So what I will need you to roll is your wits and awareness.
Meanwhile, I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking around in crevices and under rocks, trying to find a live spider.
I know what he's gonna do.
Spider time. You know what? Let's see.
2 successes. I got 1 success.
Okay, off a hunger die. Oh shit.
Yeah, because I only have 1 hunger die.
That's what we call a messy crit. Well, it's not 2. Never mind. It's almost a messy crit. So before I look that up, Nate, do you favor evens or odds?
I favor the evens.
All right, let's see what we get. So in your first bit of looking, you're not finding anything. As you start searching more and more, you realize it's probably better to look underneath, like mostly spiders will put webs underneath like these types of like waterways, like or anything that's over water to grab the bugs that fly nearby. So you start looking in that direction and you start seeing some cobwebs, but it's going to take a second to get an actual spider that you can tell. As Lamont's hunting around for a spider, Sullivan starts looking around, and you see in the back there's a gentleman who's a little too still for the rest of the crowd. Like, he's not moving, he's not twitching,
He's not blinking.
and no blinking. He is dressed in essentially like a dark gray suit, like charcoal color, with a green shirt, a striped tie, and he's just watching them all go about this dance. You see him muttering under his breath, like very quietly. You don't hear his voice over the din of everybody, dancing around here, but he's definitely whispering something.
I don't have lip reading. I will grab Preston and pull him over and just point at the guy, because I assume those two probably frequent Elysium more than I do. They may recognize him where I don't.
Yeah, when Preston and Lamont take a look at this guy, well, Lamont gets pulled from his spider hunting. You don't recognize this dude. He's not somebody who's frequented Elysium. But moreover,
you sense the sin. I need to actually engage him in conversation, right?
So
yeah, this is the very last page.
You must have the vampire in line of sight and must have engaged them in conversation at some point during the current night for at least a minute or longer.
Okay.
So yeah, you don't have enough to pull sense of sin off.
So
as Preston gets pulled over, you see another woman kind of walk up. She looks, she's tan of skin, not like somebody of Latino descent or Latina descent, but more a native, actually, by the features on her face. She's got long black hair kind of pulled back into a ponytail, and she's got feathered earrings. She walks up and puts a hand on this man's shoulder, and she leans in to talk to him. The man looks up at her, and they both get up and start walking towards the balcony doors where you guys are at.
So what I'll be doing, obviously I'll check that out once my attention has been called to it. I am observing this just because based on my cult knowledge and my retain knowledge and all that stuff, I'm trying to observe this ritual that they're doing and knowing that they're doing it wrong for the response that they're trying to elicit.
Right.
I am going to start developing a way, or see if there is a way that I could modify what they're doing into being what it needs to be.
Well, you need to learn a little more about the entity they're trying to contact, right? Whatever they're trying to petition, you need to know what that is before you can make that leap, essentially.
Okay.
Like,
All
you
right,
got to
that makes
know what the goal is before you can make some semblance of fixing what's wrong. Because without even knowing who they're trying to reach to, and no names have been called, it's just this dancing going on. No names have been called yet, so it's kind of hard to make that connection.
I'm under the impression it's the same thing that brought us here, and that maybe it's just Ata Shen. And so if it's along the lines of something that we would be trying to reach, I guess that's the angle I'm going. Like,
if it was something you were trying to reach, this would need to be a lot more bloody.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. You'd want to throw pain and suffering at the veil between where you are and where it resides to break that barrier to have your petitions carried through. This is a similar way of trying to break a barrier, but they're doing it in a completely different manner. They're trying to break through the ecstasy of dance and that peak of exhaustion, and pushing past that, the rush of the serotonin that when you break past that last barrier of physical drawbacks to reach some higher level of awareness, they're trying to break that barrier.
It's a high.
Way. Yeah, it's a high,
They're
essentially.
chasing a high.
That, for you guys, if it was trying to connect a creature that you would normally petition or try to get in contact with, this is completely the wrong frequency. You need to tone that into the same idea, but it's got to be a different emotion, a different sensation than what they're going for. Yes, there's pain involved because they're dancing until their feet bleed and they're pushing past that pain of physical exhaustion, but it's not the same that you guys tune into.
Right. It's not unbearable pain. They are just pushing through an annoyance.
Right.
Okay.
But these two are walking towards the doors you guys are by.
Well, clearly I'm going to try and hide.
So the couple places to hide, you can go in the water underneath the balcony, or you can actually go along the side and just be around the corner of the building.
I'm gonna let Jeff talk.
I was going to cut around the side and utilize obfuscate.
So you're like, phew, sorry guys.
No, it's so if something happens where they can't get away, I'm unseen. I can bash a bitch in the back of the head or something.
So Sullivan darts around the side of the building while you guys are standing there.
You son of a bitch.
Before I do so, I'll get their attention. Be like, they're coming. Mouth that, and then I'll cut her on the side of the building.
They're coming.
Find a
hide.
place to hide.
I mean, I'll duck around the corner or whatever, but like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'll hide and shit, but like, I'm at the point where it's like, if they see me,
Okay.
fuck it.
So you go around the corner as well. By the time you get there, Sullivan's already donned the mask of shadows and become obfuscated. What's Lamont doing?
Can I leap up and grab something?
Sure. Roll an athletics test. Athletics, and we'll do dexterity because you're trying to be like quick about it.
Athletics.
I mean, I read that as you have no athletics.
Yeah, I have none. But I do have dexterity, so that's a thing.
You have a spare dice if you want to use that.
You still
Nah.
3.
Didn't fucking need it.
You didn't need it. So as they're coming, you kind of rear back a little bit, spring yourself forward. You basically put your foot on top of like the gas meter and leap up, grab the roof, well, not the roof, but the balcony of the second level, and pull yourself up to that second area. As you do that, and as that snow kind of falls from where you're planting down, those balcony doors open. And as you're up there, when they open, you see a spider crawl up onto the balcony by you.
Can I grab it?
Yes, you can. Fuck you, come here.
I will grab it.
So you grab this little wolf spider
Spindly little prick.
as they walk onto the balcony. And they're walking towards the edge, the railing, to overlook the water. And you hear the gentleman you see him shake his head, and he says, Narissa, this is not... What are you showing me? What is this? And she's like, well, I want to show you the thing I can offer you. He goes, and what's that? A ill-timed ritual that means nothing and summons nothing? She goes, no. A cult that I'm willing to sell to you for your bidding in exchange for patronage. He's like, patronage with what? She goes, I want to learn more about your family. Because there's nothing for you to learn about. Even if I wanted to, I'm not privy of any information to give you that you can't already have, just by asking people. She goes, yes, but a lot of things that happen with Hikata that I want to know about. He's like, it's not my place to tell those stories. We keep those in-house. She goes, well, I hope you reconsider. One, this is a free source of blood for you and yours that you can use whenever you want. Humor them with a little tithing here and there. Take them to a place where the veil, the skiing between worlds is thin, and they'll do this all day, and you can feed as much as you want. They won't even know. It's like, listen, if I needed help getting food, you'd be the last person I'd call. There's a circulatory system. There's going to the club. She's like, stop. You know you're not welcome here just as much as I know you're not welcome here. At which point, the man laughs and he goes, if people knew you were here, they wouldn't welcome you either. She goes, well, that's just my skill at staying hidden. They sit there in silence for a minute. He goes, well, listen, I'm leaving. This has nothing that I want. If you get a better offer at some point, then maybe we can talk, but this is a pittance. He starts walking towards the corner of the building where you guys are at. Sullivan's hidden. He's getting right to the edge of the balcony to go walk down the stairs, and she comes up to him, stops him again, and says, listen, we can make this deal. He goes, no, we can't. Take your little group here, go back to your cultivar, and you guys can have them. I don't want them. But I will tell you this. Something is here that you're fucking with. And if it wakes up, I don't think I want to be here. And she goes, if it wakes up, we'll all be the better for it. And he goes to walk off. He walks right by the corner, doesn't even look at Preston. If he sees you, he doesn't acknowledge you at all. He just starts walking towards the parking lot. And she stands there on the edge of the steps, just watching him leave. Swears under her breath and walks back inside.
Okay. When she goes back inside, I'll pull a vial out of my jacket and I'll crush the spider and put it into the vial, and then I'll fang my hand and bleed into it and mix it up and try to enact a ritual. It's an intelligence plus blood sorcery.
And you have to do a rouse check. So go ahead and do the rouse check. That's what I was looking for.
No successes.
So you'll gain a point of hunger as you start enacting your blood sorcery, and the beast takes its tithe. And you feel that hunger kind of growl a bit through your body, but you manage to stay focused on the task at hand. Now go ahead and roll your intelligence plus blood sorcery, and it's a difficulty of 2. So I'm not sure how a messy critical works with a ritual.
Well, if it's a critical, it's all night. So, yeah,
Yeah.
you let me know.
That's a rough one.
Does
because
it still count as a messy critical?
Yes.
Is it with hunger
Yeah.
dice?
Anytime there's
period?
a hunger die involved in a success with the, I have to reread that. I just read it,
So
but the short
as-
answer is yes.
yeah, as you call to your blood and you accomplish the ritual, a phenomenal degree of success in the ritual, you can feel it just fall into place naturally as the magic kind of coalesces around you. You feel your clan compulsion come to the fore. And the clan compulsion for the Baali is corruption of the innocent. So you are compelled to discover the misdeeds and sins of anyone seen to espouse any semblance of virtue or goodness. So for the scene, you have to use any means at your disposal to uncover at least one sin or misdeed done by those identified as virtuous.
Okay. Well, if I encounter anyone virtuous,
It's definitely that hunger for innocence is you can feel that like riling in the back of your mouth.
yeah.
But spider
what-
climb is active.
Yeah, what I'll do is I will I'll be, because this is a glass building, right?
Well, yes and no. Like that's I've got a lot of floor to ceiling windows, but it's not all purely glass. Obviously, there's structural stuff here. The roof is normal. You could slip in from a door on the top here and basically climb around the outside or underneath on the ceiling, whatever you want to do. So you have access to get in.
Yeah, so that's what I'll be doing. I'll be trying to get in and then stay atop the ceiling and
Okay.
try to get into a place where I can overhear conversation or talking of the people that are here.
So you manage to get inside and you pull yourself up on the ceiling. And remember, everything down below is lit by candlelight. And a lot of these shadows are starting to kind of writhe around the area. As you get into this little bit more closeness to Narissa, the female that had walked out with the Hakata, your blood feels weird. It's the only way I can put it. Like something inside of her is calling out to something inside of you, but it's not on any sort of conscious level. And it's not like, there's something familiar about you. It's more of those things where you're on the same vibe with her on some degree, but you can feel it, but you can't identify it. It's an odd sensation. Obviously, when she's walking, you get this weird sense of ancientness in her, because when she looks at these people that are dancing and they still haven't stopped, there's no sign of emotion. There's no nothing. There's this quiet detachment to her as she's observing them. And literally, as they dance around this circle, like the sand painting, essentially, she snatches one by the neck as they're passing and just sinks her fangs into their throat. And you see her drain this person dry. As she's drinking them, as the lifeblood is being sucked out of this person's body, the shadows around her writhe and twist as if they're alive or imbued with some sort of sentience. When she's done, she drops them on the floor, and you see all the other dancers slow to a stop, and she just stands there and says, "You have all failed. You were supposed to be worth something. You're not, apparently." And she starts hunting them down one at a time as they all try to run to get away from her. You see, as she's going after them, her fangs have distended, her eyes are glowing red, like as if her beast has come to the fore. And when she pounces on them, she just rends them apart with her bare hands. Obviously, supernatural strength. And as she's ripping limb from limb of these participants, where the blood hits the floor in the shadows, it's consumed and sucked into them. When this starts happening outside, Preston feels this draw to come into this area. Like, it's like if you can imagine being hungry and there's a banquet in front of you. It's not a blood hunger though. It's something of the spirit that's just calling out to you. All this blood's being shed and it's being absorbed by something not quite here, and that something is calling to you. For Sullivan, the chanting in the back of your mind is starting to pick up again as this happens, but it's almost like a crescendo pitch of like a hymn being sang as all these people's lives are being ended inside. For all of you, in terms of blood magic and Raite and knowing the frequencies to pitch to go beyond the veil of existence, this is now hitting that frequency. And you feel something stir nearby. Not quite here. Further out into the water, something is paying attention now.
Into the water.
Yeah.
I'll start moving along the side of the building to where I can get a better vantage point of what's going on in the water. I'm looking for shit making ripples, looking like it's centered further out. I'm just looking for oddities. If something out there is stated, there's probably something, even if it's small, being reflected here in the real world, other than what I feel.
I have to say, this is not exactly where I expected the session to go. I thought they would just pass, take note of the weird stuff happening around the yacht club, and move on to other things like the cultivar. They have all those pictures and names. I thought that was going to be the bigger part of the session, but they decided they wanted to, that night, go and check out the club and see what was going on. And damn. So things get worse or better with our next episode as we conclude our first session. Anyways,